was nice. I'm going to take a deep breath. Because taking a deep breath kind of... My pressure, you know. I'm an old guy. My pressure, like sometimes my pressure... I get way up there under pressure. Under pressure, I fuck up. I have a sort of like fair weather enlightenment. It's the kind of enlightenment that if things are good and I'm getting what I need and want and stuff, I think, God.
That's a beautiful phrase, fair weather enlightenment. I've met some other people in my life who I think that term would fit.
I remember that story. One of those things that you sent me that I listened to about your friend, this woman who used to take acid a lot. She seemed like a fair weather enlightener.
Hold on, let me just adjust this because it's slipping.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. There we go. Okay, so moving on. Next topic.
Yeah.
Are you still doing the like those group sessions with Wyoma, and how's that going?
Wyoma and I are an item. It's still happening. I'm grateful. She's my I and I re TPP, and I bet you don't know what that is. I bet you don't remember that.
You would bet correctly.
See that? It's not well known, but this is what's going to go viral. Because everybody wants an I and I re TPP. And Wyoma is mine, and I am grateful. Here at Hamlin, at the Buddhist, Alzheimer's, artists, home for the hospiceless, you don't have to know your name. As long as you have your I and I re TPP, and Wyoma is mine.
So wait, what does that stand for?
Tantric Practice Partner. I and I comes from I and thou. Have you ever heard of Martin Buber?
Mm-mm.
Well, I won't go into it, but he was famous for some time in spiritual circles, and he talked about a relationship which he called the I and thou, as opposed to I and you or I and it. And I and thou, at least to Martin Buber, as I remember it was a long time ago, I read this shit when I was in college, and I got an A on this paper, I just want you to know. The I and thou paper. And I and thou was like all about intimacy. It was all about like, you know, finishing each other's sentences and shit and telling jokes. You know, like how you say in some jokes, you just say, joke number 72, and the other person starts breaking up laughing because they know exactly what you're talking about and they know it's exactly relevant to this moment. Mm-hmm. Well, it's sort of like that sometimes. And that's really good. So... in terms of what we're doing, we're still working on stuff. We've done a couple of workshops together, a couple of things together. Sometimes, you won't believe this, but sometimes she finds me a little too far out. Most people I know don't believe that.
I can't believe that, but
it's
I'm
true.
glad you're documenting this for HerbiePerlman.com.
All right, well.
Oh, and hold on a second.
Okay.
The scarf's not working for me.
It's not working.
Let's just pinch it right to the shirt.
Let me.
There we go.
Getting a little hot here.
Hot in the collar.
Hot under the collar, and I don't even have a collar.
Hot under the scarf.
Hot under the scarf.
All right.
So what I would say is that in terms of my own vision of what we would do together, it's happening. It's the relationship itself is, I'm thankful. I'm thankful. It's a support for me. I experience love. Hey, can't go wrong with love. Love is not exactly all you need, 'cause And here's a new piece, which we may have to do an interview either now or later about. I'm getting evicted from this place.
You're getting evicted from this
Yes,
house.
this very spot that you're seeing. Probably next time we do this, it won't be here.
Oh, well, how much can you tell me about that?
I can tell you as much as you want to hear.
I'd like to hear a synopsis. We'll go from there.
Synopsis. So here's the synopsis. We've been living here for 7 years. There's 4 of us. I have 3 roommates living here. And we thought kind of basically as long as we kept paying the rent, we'd have the place. Well, last year someone moved downstairs, and we'd always signed a lease. Someone moved downstairs and she smoked like a chimney, and so we didn't send the lease back and stuff. Well, finally she moved out in February.
Oh, okay. Pause for a second because
Yeah.
I got lost.
All right.
The people who moved downstairs,
Yeah.
the woman smoked like a chimney.
Yeah.
And then you didn't send the lease back. Are those
Yeah,
two
because
things
we
connected?
we wanted him to get rid of her.
The
because-
landlord.
The landlord, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The landlord to get rid of her because what he did was he forgot, he used to put no smoking as a clause in the lease.
Uh-huh.
Turns out he forgot to put that in her lease. And so my bedroom was like right under her bedroom, so the smoke would like waft up, and it wasn't so bad for me, but for Wyoma when she's here, she's very like environmentally sensitive to things like smoke. So it was really torture. And so that all happened. Then she moved out in February. We didn't send the lease back. In March 30th, in fact, like for April Fool's Day, he comes over and he says, since he had to, when she moved out, he had to rent the downstairs space. He found out he could get more money than he thought he could, and he got more money. I don't know what he got for downstairs. He used to rent it for like $12.50 or something like that. I think he must have got at least $1,500 for it. And for this place, he thinks he can get, if he has to de-lead this place and fix it up, but he thinks he can get $3,000 for it. We're paying like $2,000 and change for it, $2,100, something like that.
Oh, so since he never signed the lease, now he's going to issue a new lease with a higher rent.
Well, I mean, we'd had trouble paying that. We, in fact, are up to date, but he wants to get $3,000 for it, and he didn't even really consider us. I mean, he said he wanted us out by June 1st.
Okay, so that's really coming up.
It's really coming up, and kind of it's like another situation because he basically, I mean, we've lived here for 7 years, and he's been a saint, actually. He's been a really nice person. But when he came over, it was like all business. It was like, hey, I'm leaving $11,000 on the table. And so he wants to do this. So what I'm gonna ask him, as I did, I think we interviewed about that last place that I left in Newton, where I think he should help me out. I mean, I want $1,500 to move June 1st. I mean, that'll like pay for storage and stuff like that. So, but I'm gonna wait until close to that time, because if he says no, then he'll have to go to court, and that'll take a certain amount of time and stuff. So now it's down to, I mean, he was a really nice landlord, but then like he sort of turned over, and this is business, so it's just business. I mean, basically, I mean, it's business, and it seems to me $1,500 is pretty fair for the inconvenience that he's going to cause me. And so we're in that kind of thing, but I haven't called him yet. Because if I were to call him now, then he could get the court date set up. And I want for me to have as much leverage. I think what the case is is because he's like an engineer and his wife's an engineer and like he thinks these things through. So I think he's probably already hired the de-leading people, and they're probably supposed to come in sometime soon after June 1st. Well, those things, I mean, those people probably work mostly in the summer anyhow, and I mean, I don't know what it's like, but I have a story about it, that for us to get out in a timely way will have some value for him. And so I want to get that value. That being said, I don't have any place to store my stuff yet, so if anyone who's listening would like me to have my stuff over their house, I can take my stuff over to your. I could take it over to your house. I mean, except that your house is in New York, so let me do that.
You'd find my place in Brooklyn is a tad bit cramped.
Yeah, I suspect. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I think those are the things. So I've got a lot to figure out between now and June 1st, whether he says yes or no.
So as far as plans is, for where you're going to move next, you're not sure yet?
I'm not sure yet. I'm on a friend of mine, thank God, a couple of years ago got me to sign up on the Cambridge housing list.
Okay.
So it looks like I'm pretty high up on that, so I should get a place there, but with those kinds of lists, sometimes you have to wait for someone to die or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I haven't had any notice that I'm being called for it yet, but I think it'll come up soon. Mm-hmm. So this summer I've got to sort of shuck and jive and kind of probably stay with friends, maybe stay with my mother, none of whom I've told anything yet to. But so I'm taking a lot of deep breaths and kind of just imagining this were a funny story and it was all going to work out, and then you'd come back and I'd tell this and we'd be laughing our heads. Remember that time? It would be all that kind of shit happening.
What about, hey, Wyoma, what do you say I come in and bunk with you?
That's a whole other. You've been through that. That's a different story. That's like a different level, a different track. A different like progression, a different paradigm.
Right.
It's like different. We don't even have to go there.
Right. That was being funny.
Well, some things are funny and some things are less funny. But that's okay. That's sort of right in the middle. That's like a 5.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 100.
Okay. So my last follow-up question before we move on to any other stuff you want to talk about is there any news about what's going on with your son and contact with your ex-wife and all that?
Oh yes, there is some breaking news. There's a couple of breaking news bits.
Okay.
Which is one is that in September, I asked Wyoma, and she was into it because she had known Alexander. So she actually got in touch with him and had lunch with him. Mm. And it was a really nice lunch and stuff, but afterwards, like Linda was like tracking him down, like 2 hours later, she met him around the corner from where he lived, and like she was supposed to meet him at 2. By 4 o'clock, she's already calling Wyoma, saying, "Where is he? He's not home." And like she like created this whole scene, which wound up like really weird, a really weird scene, and some shit happened, but at the end of the day, Linda blamed Wyoma for driving Alexander crazy.
Okay, so what details can you give me about what happened? Because it sounds like there's something's missing from this story.
Well, there is something missing from this story, and I want to be respectful.
Okay.
But all I can say is that this was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That Linda is, Linda is what I consider, we haven't talked about negative teachers. The people who get you enlightened by fucking with your head. Linda's a person like that. And it was powerful for me to see what she did to make Wyoming like the source of the problem. Because that's exactly what she did to me when we were married. And it both made me mad, but it also freed me up some, because it wasn't me. It's harder when it's you, when someone says it's your fault. This was some saying it's Wyoming's fault, and that was like, it was like stupid. I could see that it wasn't Wyoming's fault.
So that was enlightening in a way, because it made you see all the stuff that happened to you in a different
Yeah, in a different way. She has a whole story about why Alexander isn't in touch with his dad. And it all has to do with me and how I fucked it up. That's when you're on the other side of that story, you can deny it, you can push back against it, but it kind of is a heavy load. It's like, you people are. The same way that racists talk about black people, Linda talks about me. It's pretty ugly. And to get out from that ugliness is hard. And she's still doing it. She's still like setting it up so that he's estranged from me. Although, interestingly enough, my birthday is 2 days from today.
Oh, okay.
And so I decided, because every once in a while I communicate with Alexander, because I have his email. So a while ago, a week ago or something, I communicated with him and I emailed him and I basically said, my birthday's coming up. Last year, I didn't get nothing from you. The year before that, I didn't get nothing. The year before that, I didn't get nothing. And I just want to say that's rude. And, that's what mean kids do. And I sent him that email. And I haven't heard, often, I've written him other emails and stuff. Often he doesn't answer at all. But this time he actually wrote back and said, happy birthday. And then I said, thank you. And he said, you're welcome, which was like the most contact I've had with him in 4 years. So it's kind of there. And next year he'll be a junior. So sometime in the future, there's a couple of leverage points. My nephew's graduating from MIT. Smart family. In June. And I think he's going to invite Alexander. My other nephew, I have 3 nephews. Well, 3 nephews from my brother Bobby. But one of them graduated from Babson last year, and Alexander came, and Linda came with him. So I've suggested this time that, and in fact it works out because at MIT you only get like 4 tickets for your family to like sit at your graduation. Mm-hmm. Even less, I think, than Harvard was. I'm a Harvard graduate. You can probably tell that from my high level of interaction. But, so anyhow, it's a perfect opportunity to invite Alexander to come alone. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But if that interaction doesn't happen, then the end of next year or the beginning of the year after, once they start going to college, they have, even if you're divorced, both parents have to fill out financial forms because the college wants both parents to give him money, basically. So, but that'll be my next leverage point. And I'm basically going to say, because of what happened, that thing with Wyoming and that whole kind of driving him crazy kind of thing, it means that what I will do is to say that I need to be convinced that he'll be okay at college, and I need to be able to talk to him and feel he's resilient enough so that, one conversation with a friend of his father's isn't enough to drive him over the edge. So we'll see what happens, we'll see. You can only do what you can do. And so I'm signed up for being his father. That's kind of karmic, and that's lifetime. And I had my own story about what it would be like. I imagined myself to be the Buddha Dada. That's like the Buddha's father, the Buddha Dada. And I thought that Linda and I would have this Color Purple story. I don't know if you ever read The Color Purple, but a beautiful book, actually. But at the end, two people who'd been married abusively and awfully, like 30 years later, they come to a place where they can sit on the porch together and kind of appreciate that each other exists and that they were in each other's history. That's where my Color Purple story involved everything dropping away and my just being grateful that Linda mothered a child who I love. That's not exactly how it's working out at the moment, but that was my story, and I'm kind of hanging on to it. There's a lot of hatred, as you might well imagine, and there's a lot of rage, but like as negative teachers do, every day I work with it and work to Tonglin the rage, to reviscerate the rage, to embody my own rage and use it as feedstock for enlightenment.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
Actually, you should listen. I heard yesterday on being.org, this guy, Glenn, I think his name is Glenn Hempton, and he's gone around the world like making sound, like where he is, like ambient sound where he is, and he records like silences in different places too. It was amazing. He calls himself an acoustic ecologist.
Well, that sounds really interesting.
It was fascinating. It was on being.org. She does some really good programs. Krista Tippett. Shout out, Krista. You can give me a shout out too. HerbiePerlman.com. One hand washes the other, Krista.
Well, that brings us to, I guess, our final topic. What have you been up to, and what's HerbiePerlman.com all about?
HerbiePerlman.com is really about Herbie Perlman and Herbie Perlman's campaign. I, Herbie Perlman, am going to be president. Herbie Perlman for president! I have decided that I am better than Barack the Boneless and Robo Romsta. There's no other choice. And part of HerbiePerlman.com for me is about, like, how do you respond to the fact that we as a species are killing ourselves? Suicidal semi-sapience, I call it. Eukaryotic suicidal semi-sapience. We are the species that is self-apoptosizing. I bet you don't know what that means.
I would hazard to take a guess, actually.
Oh, okay.
Self-apoptosizing means we're like incurring our own apocalypse.
You are good. You are good. You go far. You're gonna go far.
Am I attuned to the prominence?
You are attuned. You are a potential donor to HerbiePerlman.com for precedent.
That's good. You know how to spin me into a donor. That's good.
You could be a pioneer donor. You could be a pioneer donor. You could get me into double figures.
Oh my gosh, you mean you're already at $9?
I need my own minion. Because this is like a Jew thing. I'm spinning the juju. Jews, since Bernie Madoff, us Jews have had like a particular kind of expertise in bullshit. Bubby mices, we used to call it. Now I happen to speak what I've done for HerbiePerlman.com because I want to, you have to get like niche markets, and I'm starting out with the Yiddish market. So I'm trying to get donors, like Romster, the Romster got Mormon. Mm-hmm. I'm getting Yiddishkeit. And Kabbalists. And Hasidism, except the ultra-Orthodox are abusing each other. I'm not accepting donations from any ultra-Orthodox who's abusing children. I just want you to know that. Unless they happen to hold their money in the Bank of America. I take all Bank America donations. And I'm thinking that even if I don't win as Herbie Perlman for president, I'm gonna like do a dole. Do you know what do a dole means? I bet you don't.
I'm gonna again hazard to guess that this is in reference to Bob.
Bob, yes, Bob. You remember Bob?
I do. Remember
Bob. Kill Bob. I mean, don't really. I mean, I know this is all being recorded for like Bluffdale and SOPA and CISPA. But, so I was only kidding. Please, don't come after, can you hear that drone? I think there's a drone out there.
Your ears might be more attuned to it than that.
They are. I'm like, when you get like paranoid, it's like your hearing like improves, like you hear things. I'm hearing things. I'm starting to hear things. And then if you like put tin foil, like I got my tin foil hat.
You do not have a tin foil hat.
I do have a tin foil hat.
You have it nearby?
I'm not sure I want to we will have to be a little bit closer for the tin foil hat to come up. So we're not ready. We're not like, it's not the first date, it's not the second date. But we need a lot more dates before my tinfoil hat comes out. I just want you to know that. Nothing against you. Nothing against you.
Okay, but what does the tinfoil hat do? At least tell me about it. It
focuses the energy. It like tunes you in. It's like a WZBC. It's like 90.3 megahertz with 1,000 watts effective radiated output in stereo. Well, this is 100,000 times more powerful than that.
Wow.
It just like comes through the tinfoil and you can feel the gamma rays. The gamma rays. Mm-hmm. It's like X-rated gamma rays. It's like, whoa, it's like viral. It's like a viral thing. It's like like some of those porno sites, they like go viral. Well, once people discover this is a secret. And I'm telling you a secret. It's only between you and the ubiquitous state-sponsored surveillance apparatus and me. We're the only ones who know that this is happening. But you hear, it's like a cosmic microwave background. And like you start to, like, if you have it like the tin foil, and it needs to be like shaped in the right way, so you can get the rays, mm-hmm. So the rays like get trapped. Mm-hmm. Once the rays get trapped, It's like, whoa! It's like, oh. It's like the seed syllable. It's like a seed syllable on a sliding slope. And it takes you down into the center of gravity of enlightenment. Buddha is the center of gravity. And you take a deep breath and you realize it's enough. I have enough. I'm precedent. At least in my own story, I'm precedent. And on the show, to circle back around the stupa clockwise, on the show, I talk about climate change and the hockey stick. We have a hockey stick happening. Michael Mann is this climate scientist, and he came up with this graph. It's reality, actually. It's what's happening climate-wise if we keep like fracking. And that's not fucking. It's fracking.
Is that
fracking.
A Battlestar Galactica reference?
It is. Whoa, dude. You next time you better bring your tinfoil hat too. We're gonna communicate through tinfoil. Like when you go back to New York, put your hat on at 12:32, and I'll put my hat on at the same time, and we'll be like, it'll be happening.
So the fracking
is like fucking. But it's like fucking with the climate. So we're going to have holocide. Do you know what holocide is? Whoa, that's good. That's good. Most people can't admit that they don't know what holocide is. Now, Brian over there, for example, he knows what holocide is.
Okay.
He does. Holocide, you know like what fratricide is?
No.
Fratricide is killing your brother. Do you know what matricide is?
Killing your mom.
You know what patricide is?
I'm gonna guess killing the father.
Whoa, now you're getting your tinfoil like in gear. And holocide. Holocide. Have you ever heard of the Holocene?
No.
The Holocene is, I don't want to clue you in or make you feel bad or anything, but you've been in the Holocene for the last 12,000 years. It's a geological era that we are now killing. And it's the geological era where we have like geese laying golden eggs. And we, with fracking and other things like Keystone XL pipeline and cars and, anything that acidifies the ocean and changes the albedo of the Arctic. We're happening. We're doing it. That's how we're killing ourselves. And that's what I talk about on the show. And that's what I play Radio Eco Shock, which is like, I am so inspired by Alex Smith. He went on the web and started making this program about climate, about the ecosphere. And basically we're fucked. Basically I talk about on my program, when I'm talking about me and Herbie Perlman for Precedent, I talk about in my herbal administration, about what we'll do different. And all the B-2 bombers, we're going to use that money to monitor what's happening in the climate, because you can't know what's happening unless you monitor it. And there's all kinds of sophisticated equipment, which, as you know from your radio announcement, you need money to buy. And so now the government is actually taking money away from satellites and sensors that monitor climate change on a minute basis. So the data gets compromised, the data gets diluted, much as I just was listening actually to this, that in the SNL, there were something like, what did he say? I think there were 83 or 183 people prosecuted for fraud during the SNL scandals. And there's been no high-level person prosecuted in the meltdown of '08. And part of that is that in order to prosecute someone, you need certain kinds of data to prove they did what you say they did. Well, in a lot of cases, when Glass-Steagall got revoked, they also stopped collecting the data about what happened. There were requirements that you needed to maintain certain files. A lot of those requirements were revoked, and then a lot of the people who were checking up whether you were, you need specialized people to look at the data and make sense of it. A lot of those people were fired from the government. So they actually don't have the expertise and they don't have the data to do the prosecutions for all the fraud that happened in the '08 meltdown and continues to happen. MF Global with John Corzine, just the other day, Jamie Dimon. I knew Jamie's brother Ted Dimon, and he is a fucking asshole. Ted Dimon. I don't want this to get out because,
I'll file this under the Tom Abate.
The Tom Abate pile this should go under because Ted Dimon is a fucking asshole. And, I just got to be honest with you. He was responsible with Missy Vineyard, who he happened to be fucking at the time, for creating a NASTAT process which screwed me. So, like Tom Abate, only in a different way, I turned over for Missy and Ted. And Ted did it because Ted's just like his brother Jamie. You know Jamie, don't you?
Jamie who?
Jamie Dimon. No?
Doesn't ring a bell.
It should. He was in the news just the other day.
I must have missed it.
Brian knows. He is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. Oh. And he just lost $2 billion. He kind of misplaced it. Because he was hedging his risk. Now, how do you hedge your risk so that you lose $2 billion? I would like to hedge my risk with him. Because, he's going to protect, he's got my ass. He's just like put a synthetic derivative, you do this and you do that, and then you have a computer work it out, and pretty soon there's no risk. Or so they tell us.
Okay, so before we wrap this up, because I am running out of time, if you are or when you're elected president, what kind of things do you have proposed on your platform?
We're going to have mystery schools. We're going to have alchemical mystery schools. All those B-2 bombers, we won't have those no more. But we'll use all that money to have alchemical, mystical schools. And here's the other thing, and it's going to really work out because we're going to have a moratorium on stuff. In the first 2 years of my administration, no new stuff. I mean, you can get an exemption. There'll be people in my administration, the 36, the Lamed-Vovniks. They will be authorized to license stuff, but that you'll have to get
like a practical purpose.
Yeah, like a cure for cancer or something like that. It'd be okay for you to invent a cure for cancer. We'd support that, but I'm going to tell you, plastic, no, not going to happen. Plastic bags, you better save your plastic bags now because they're going to be really valuable in my herbal administration. And that you could corner the plastic bag market. Every time you walk into a supermarket, and you see where you can recycle like plastic, you should grab them because they're going to like be worth big money in my herbal administration. The plastic bag market, as soon as I get elected, it's going to go through the roof because there'll be a limited. Once you make limits, there's only a certain number. And now there's only like probably 100,000 plastic bags for every human alive.
That's it.
So, and they once a plastic bag gets a hole in it, it's really not that, it's not that useful except for like certain things that like don't drip. That aren't liquid, you can't have liquid, and they can't be like frozen and melt. Those kind of things, like they can't be like chicken that like bleeds through after they put all those chemicals in it and all the pink slime. Can't be like that. So you might even throw that away. There's a problem though. Here's the thing I can't work out, and maybe you can help me. I need a Secretary of State who's going to figure out what to do with all the plastic bags that have holes in them. If we recycle them, can we make them into new bags? And do those count as new bags, or are those old bags?
Oh, I don't know.
It's going to be like a cap and trade kind of thing, I think. I think that's what we'll have to do. We'll have like a cap and trade, and we'll have like a tax, and then we'll have a tax, and then a contra tax. And then we'll have an alchemical mystery school that we'll be able to meditate. We'll be able to meditate on the plastic bags and transform their energy to a higher level. Like they did lead to gold. Well, they just did lead because lead was like cheap as dirt in those days, and they figured if you can make lead to gold, you could there's plenty of lead around. Well, now the lead for today, plastic bags.
Oh, so you're going to be like the plastic alchemist.
Plastic fantastic alchemical alchemist. It's going to work out. I think it's going to work out. There are a lot of people who don't think I'm going to get elected. They think there's an insurmountable lead for the Romster and the Barockster. But I don't care. I don't care what they think. It's not their story. It's not their master narrative. It's not their official story. In my herbal administration, the whole point is going to be enlightenment.
Well, that's a good spot to stop on. You wanna lead us out with a good biome?
Yeah. Oh. That was very enlightening.